going to go ahead and re-review the mobile app today and the different features in the app, especially how to clock in and out correctly. I know there's ongoing confusion about that. So we're going to show two different things. The first thing we'll show is how you're going to clock in for today's training, which is considered indirect support. It's not direct support to the individuals you work for. And I just want to point out that that's completely separate than the way you would clock in and out, AKA start and stop time and enter services during your daily work with the families and individuals you serve. So we're gonna do that. I don't believe there's much mobile updates. Typically each month there's a mobile app update, or when you open the app from your phone, it'll ask you to update now. So we might not touch too much on that. But if you have mobile app questions, that would be a good time to ask them. Annual refreshers, typically this time of year, you know, for most of you that have already been with CFS or OPWDD employee, each year, once a year, you're required to do those refresher trainings. For a lot of the people that have joined CFS now with their families, you tend to do that as a new employee orientation. So that is done each year, and we're going to talk a little bit about that, what that'll look like this year, but we're not there yet. We're going to talk about overtime, paid time off. We're going to introduce you to the Paycom App and a little bit about direct deposit and just, you know, the ongoing COVID precautions. After this training, typically any requests anyone has related to the staff training links, or anything you need me, or the PTO forms or things like that you need me to share, I'll be more than glad to send that in a recap email. Okay. All right. So Linda, I'll hand it off to you for the mobile app part.
Okay, great. Let me share. Hopefully this works. Okay, Jen, you stopped sharing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so first I wanted to just go over the digital agency. So this is what the app is going to look like on your phone, on your device. I'm using an iPhone, so it might look slightly different on Android. And again, if you're new, make sure you follow the instructions. You know, we did a recorded video to show you how to use this, as well as a PowerPoint. If you're new, I would go back and follow those in detail when the first time you're using it, just so you make sure you get it right. Like Jen said, the app does do updates, and it'll prompt you to do those updates. So, okay, so if I click on the app, what I was referencing in the beginning was that I wanted you to punch in, punch out. We always say don't use this option because all of the punch happens automatically when you, hold on one second. Sorry. But for trainings like this, or if you did one of the trainings for Paycom, you're going to use the punch in, punch out. So at the top right up here, that little hamburger option up at the top, I'm sorry, top left corner, upper top left corner, it's going to draw this out, and you're going to see punch in, punch out. So like I said, if you haven't already, do that today. You're going to punch in. I already punched in. And it'll allow you to punch out, okay? It's going to ask you when you did the punch in, it's going to ask you that it's indirect training. That's what we want you to select. It's going to ask you to indicate the individual that you work with, and that's what you're going to select, okay? Again, do not use this option when you are providing that direct support to your individuals. So while we're in this menu here, I wanted to point out a few things. If you want to know your work history, meaning the amount of time that you know, the days and hours you worked, you can click work history, and that will show you those punches. This way you can verify it. Jennifer will show it to you on the portal as well. And just keep in mind, the work week is Saturday to Friday. And we have a biweekly pay period. So the pay period always starts on a Saturday, ends on a Friday. So that's why we always want you to go in and double check what you've done, at least by that end of the day Friday, so that the families can go in over the weekend and review your entries. Okay, so back here, another area in the menu I wanted to point out is where it says Enroll Sign. Everybody has to enroll their signature in the system. So if you haven't done that already, make sure you do that. It is a required element to capture your electronic signature, and it's a one-time setup. Okay, and you'll see at the bottom to change password. So those are just a few things I wanted to point out on this menu option. But again, you're not going to use that on a regular basis. On a regular basis, when you're providing the direct support to the individuals, you're going to come to this home screen and you're going to click Service Delivery. Okay, now I'm already in a session here, so let me let's see here if I can. Oh, see, now I messed this up. We were testing it out earlier and I messed this up. So, okay, so when you're in the session, let me see if I can stop. Hold on. Sorry about this. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so you're going to click that service delivery button at the top left. You're going to select the department. I have a laundry list. You should only have the ones either ComHab or Respite. If you do both, make sure you pick the right one. And here, see here it says, in order to proceed, you're required to punch in. Do you wish to punch in now? This is telling you the system is going to punch you in. So that's why we don't want you doing it in the other way. Okay, so you say okay. It preloads this screen here. You don't have to do anything. It won't allow you to do anything. You just click done. That's now punched you in. This is a two-step process. The second step is you have to now start the session. And we want you to do this pretty quickly. So you should be clicking that and then going right into here, indicating your mode of support, face-to-face, dropping down the clicking done there, and it's going to populate the session. Okay, so you're going to see this screen and you're going to click start. Now, if you're providing face-to-face, you're going to be required to answer the pre-screening questions. Jennifer will go over. I mean, you guys should be well aware of this if you've been working as of this point. It does allow you, if you do not have signs or symptoms, if you haven't traveled to any of the countries or states, if you've not come in close proximity to anybody who's tested positive. If you or anyone of your household has not been confirmed to have tested positive, you can set all the screening questions to no, except for the last one. And the last one is, are the staff and individual wearing appropriate personal protective equipment? So at a minimum, a mask, face covering. So you would say yes. Okay, so once you do those pre-screening questions, you're going to proceed to the session. And that's all you have to do. So now you can, close this out, go, continue to provide the services. Sorry.
So once, this is Jennifer, I'll take over a little bit here. So once you click that start button, and as you can see that total duration, you see that time is already running. As soon as it starts running, you can, even if you get out of the app or use other parts of your device, the time keeps running. Now, what happens is you just need to make sure that before you click that stop button, you're looking at two things. The first thing is you're going to click that middle button that says services, and that's where you're going to always make sure you enter all of the services you've provided to your individual before you click that stop button. And it's kind of self-explanatory. If you click the service, in this case, money management, it goes down to say methods and staff support, and you're just able to click on that. So staff support, 1 through 10 typically means you're either providing physical, verbal, gestural, partial physical, or just supervising the person when they're working in that goal. And you're going to select how many times you provided those different types of staff supports for that service. Okay, then you're going to pick the individual response, which would be, you know, they're fully engaged, partially engaged. And once you select your individual's response, you're going to go ahead and select that location. So Casey's home. Which you also have that drop down too, so you can select that home in the community, and then you can enter that location description if you want to be more exact. And then you're going to be required to enter those comments at the very bottom before you save. So this would be the part where, you know, we're saying we took Casey to the bank, she's worked on counting change, or, you know, just, so note on the comments, sometimes when we're reviewing attendance rosters and the goal was, you know, shopping, the comments, you know, shouldn't just, sometimes we see things like she did well, it was okay, went out today. Just make sure your comments capture what the service was. So if Casey's working on money management, what did that look like? So she made change and did well. So it can stay simple. It's just, you know, make sure you, we're looking to understand how you provided the service, what they did, and they did okay. And once you do that, you should be able to save it. And as you can see there, that service is already registered. So you successfully entered at least 4 forms of staffing support, and that Casey was fully engaged. And for purposes of community habilitation, at least 1 service is required for the session to register. And it has to be a goal, not just a safeguard. Like sometimes we see that number 2 is something that Evro has automatically populated to provide support during COVID. And that's you can, you know, of course, report that you provided that kind of support, but that's not a habilitative goal. That's not, you know, what staff are working on with Casey, let's say. So you feel free to add that in addition to all the other services that the individual has. Okay, so, and then if you go back to session and click on your person's name, it'll then pop up that bottom screen, that total duration again. And when you're ready to clock out, you would click stop. But note that before, it'll tell you all the individuals have ended. Do you wish to stop the session? Before you stop the session, just keep in mind that sessions are recorded in 15-minute increments. So what that means is it'll tell you, for example, here that so far we've been working for 4 minutes with Test Girl Casey, and that there's about 10 more minutes left before the 15-minute session registers. So it's not something that you know, you guys have to understand, but rule of thumb would be to clock out when within the 15-minute increments. So if you work from 9 to 5, you know, clock out at 5 instead of 9, 4:41 or something like that. So just try to keep it within the 15-minute increment. So in this case, we'll keep that running to show you what that looks like. Let's see.
And if you have questions, just feel free to unmute your mic, or just put it in the chat. There was a question about supervision prompts. So the prompts are based on the number of prompts. So if working on a money management goal and a person is doing a verbal prompt, so maybe, you know, the prompt would be let's count how many quarters equal up to the dollar, just to keep it very basic. And if I had to do that prompt 2 times for the individual I'm working with to complete that, I would put 2 verbal prompts. Physical would be hand over hand. Gestural obviously would be if you're pointing, right? Uh, partial physical would be maybe the individual is doing some and you're doing some partially. And then the overall supervision is just the monitoring. So it's not based on the hours. The hours are captured in the time. So if some part of that goal required supervision, so let's say, for example, a goal is to assist with toileting, and maybe we're in the bathroom or showering, and we're in the bathroom for 15 minutes, and I'm providing 2 or 3 physical prompts, 2 or 3 verbal prompts, and I'll put 1 for supervision because I'm supervising as well. Okay. Okay, and then there was another question about employee signature. If you go and you attempt to sign and it's not available, that means your signature is already registered. Okay.
Hi, this is Alexis. I just have a quick question about those verbal, physical gestures and everything. So if it's mostly like a conversation, like helping study, there's a lot of verbal communication in that whole interaction. So I've just kind of not been filling it out, but I think that it would be best probably to fill it out. How should I go about like counting the number of times, because it's a conversation?
Yeah, I don't think I would put 1. I think if it's part of an overall conversation, 1 is good. Keep in mind that the reason, and I think this brings us, we can always go back to the session, but this brings us to the next point, which is the monthly summary note. The reason that you're putting those prompts in and the reason that you're putting the comments in is so that we can, the individual, the circle support, or you can on a monthly basis look at progress. So if we go to the monthly summary, and I just want to go over this because you might be responsible to do monthly summary. The person's support broker might be responsible. The person that you're supporting might be responsible, or the family. You have to find out who within your team is responsible to complete this. So if you are the one, it's pretty easy to do right here from the app by clicking the monthly summary tab. Again, you're going to click the program. Oops, sorry about this. Okay. So here you can see Test Girl Casey. So if I select August, it didn't actually capture anything. Let me go back to July. I think we had some July in there, right? So this is where you're going to see, it's not here. This is a test person, but you would see fully engaged 0, partially engaged 0, refused 0, and it would show, there's also a way you can review the comments. So the information on the person, how the person is doing with their services will appear here, and you'll have an ability to indicate, this one's already done, you'll have an ability to indicate the person's progress for each service, if they're satisfied, if they've had any significant life changes or events, and if there are any health or safety issues, and give a little overall summary of the goal. So that's a required element, in the monthly summary note. This one's not filled out, so let me show you here. So this is where on a monthly basis, and again, it might not be you have to find out, you would indicate based on the services provided for that month, what was the progress for each service. So if I clicked improved, it would be I, or over here, let me do this next one. I touch it, I could do maintain, so they maintain their level of progress. And then it's just a drop down. If the person is satisfied with supports and services, any significant life changes or any health and safety issues. And here, again, you would put, in this case, we would want you to do a brief summary on how Casey did with money management for this month. And you could see the information here. So there's 1 fully engaged. So, you would say Casey was fully engaged this month in working on money management. She successfully learned how to make change at the store when making a purchase under $5, as an example. Okay, so and then you would save that. So again, if this is something, circle back with your individual teams to find out if you would be responsible to do the monthly summary. And if you are, it's very, very easy to do. Another thing I want to just point out, on the home screen, you see training videos. Again, we have on our website, we're providing it here. We shared with you in the initial welcome email, you know, a PDF and another link to a training. But in addition, Evro offers training. So a lot of this is not up to, but here, SDS, self-hired staff portal. So this is a half-hour training. If you're still feeling confused and you want to get more training, so that, you know, if you're having some issues, you can take the video training right here. Okay, Jen, anything else, or anybody have any questions while we're on this?
I'll share my screen for a little bit just to share where to also access the training.
Okay.
So another way to just stay in the loop is you go to cfsny.org, okay, and you go to services. Our FI page is CFS Self-Directed Supports, and within there, you can also find, just scrolling down a little bit here, the Evro trainings and resources. So this would probably capture, you know, the ongoing updates Evro does to their software. This is where we have the trainings. If you click this video here, it'll walk you through how to clock in and, you know, punch in and out how you're supposed to, and enter services. So at some point today, I'm going to reshare this link. I'm going to also forward the PDF mobile web app slides that Linda provides upon hire in the email. And I'll also reshare our pay time off request form, as well as the pay periods. Because what's important with the pay periods, again, is that by that Friday, every Friday really, especially the last Friday of the pay period, that all of your services are entered, and that means that you've clocked in correctly, clocked out correctly, and entered all of your services. Because oftentimes what's happening is that, sorry, stop sharing. What's happening is that if you wait for after the fact to enter your time, some families go in contemporaneously. They go in each day, they go in daily and approve your time. And if you've waited, I don't know, for the end of the pay period to enter all of your sessions via the web portal, they might miss it and not approve it on time. Okay, so the purpose of showing everyone the mobile app today is especially to remind you that the mobile app is what you should be utilizing to clock in and out and enter your services daily. It is the Medicaid rule that services are reported contemporaneously, and that if there is any kind of issue, you know, which it's very common, or I forgot to enter a service, or my app froze, or something with my phone died, or, you know, just things like that, or just, you know, or simply I forgot to punch in or punch out. That those things are fine, but ideally when that happens, that's when you're going to the web portal. You should really be using your mobile apps to record your services live. Web portal for any corrections. Okay, so at some point, I guess I think we're ready to move on to the web portal, Linda, or did you want to share anything else?
Yep, I think, yeah, maybe do the portal. Do you want me to, oh, you want me to discuss Paycom, or do you want to finish off with Evro and then?
Yeah, let's finish off with Evro, and then we'll bring it back to some exposure of the Paycom.
Okay.
Okay. So let me share the screen here. Web portal.
While Jennifer's loading up the screen, there was a question about vacation time. So, you know, we do paid time off. So vacation, sick, discretionary, holiday, it's all lumped into whatever you're entitled to. That's still handled manually. So for now, you're going to use the submit a request, which Jennifer will resend out. You'll have the individual or family sign off, and it will get sent back to Jennifer, and we will handle that manually. We're working with Evro on a way for you to request the time in their system, but that's not ready yet. And also, Paycom as a solution. So we're still looking at those two options until we have a good solution in one of those two places. Still handle that manually.
So this is what, when you do have to utilize your web portal, you're going to go into myveroportal.com. And just to clarify, sometimes you may, or at least oftentimes I hear that you may try to access the web portal from your phone or your tablet devices. If you've not downloaded the app for MyVero Portal, which is different than Digital Agency, you're going to have limitations. So the best way to access the web portal for any after entries or revisions you have to do is actually open a browser from your laptop devices, computer devices. If you must use a tablet, you shouldn't have an issue, but from your phone, I guarantee there's going to be limited features from within the web portal. So if you just access this via laptop, computer, desktop, you're going to go to myveroportal.com. You're going to have the same credentials, your username, your password. Agency code for everyone that asks is CFSNY, all caps, for both your mobile apps and the web portal. And when you log in, your screen should look something like this. Your individuals you serve will be populated here. So in this case, you know, I work with Test Girl Casey, and I'll show you two things. The first one is I'll show you is how to register for those that came in later and did not use their mobile apps to punch in for the training today. You would, on your roster, go to Employee Time. When you go to Employee Time, okay, you're gonna click this plus sign. The plus sign will allow you to then register today's training, which was today the 13th. You know, you'll enter your name, okay, your program, you know, if you're a ComHab worker, for purposes of us, you shouldn't have all these options, but you know, you should have something like self-hired ComHab or respite. So you shouldn't, this should be kind of populated there for you. Either way, you know, let's say meeting started at 11. Okay. We'll say it ends at 12. I mean, it won't let me, you know, record future time, but let's just say, you know, so punch in 11, punch out 12, punch in reason, you're gonna select indirect training, okay? And then you'll say, you know, self-hire staff training or however you wanna capture that, and you'll click save. So you don't need to enter reason, no issues to report, just indirect training, your punch in, punch out time. If you missed it, the part as to how you would do that via the mobile app. Okay, so that's the only time you go into employee time. Anything that's related to the services you provide, if for some reason it's not captured in the mobile app, you're going to go to attendance roster. In attendance roster, and sometimes every Friday, if Linda and I reach out, you'll see where I say, hey, you punched in, but you forgot to punch out. Or sometimes you'll see emails from me that say, hey, enter your services. This is where you're coming. You're coming to attendance roster. You are clicking this plus sign. So we'll say I missed a session yesterday with Testro Casey. Make sure I'm selecting the correct program here. Person I'm supporting, individual session, mode of support face-to-face. And just like the mobile app, it'll generate all these questions, which I'm saying, you know, that I'm okay. Last one, I'm confirming I used my PPE equipment. Then I'm proceeding to the session, which I worked, you know, let's say 10 a.m. and ended at, you know, 11:30, because remember, we want to keep it within the 15-minute increments, keep it clean. Then this is how you enter your time. So remember, the web portal is not going to capture any live time. It's only for after the fact, okay? So once I save it and close it, there's a second step to this. And I just have to sometimes, and Evro does do this, it's not, my session is not coming up here. So
Oh, you gotta pick the program.
pick the program and, refresh it. Okay. So here's my session that I entered. But until I don't enter the service count, which is AKA the goals, it's not going to fully register for the parent to be, or the, individual family to approve this. So in this case, I'm entering the services, money management, click view, and then just kind of follow the boxes here. So Casey was fully engaged in the community. We went to the bank. I just provided one verbal prompt, which to Alexis's point consisted of ongoing verbal support for Casey to make change, budget, etc. Okay, and then you save it, close it, and this is what a session should look like. You should start or stop your time. Make sure you're supporting the correct person for those of you that work with more than one individual. Your start and stop time is fully registered, okay? And that your services are entered. This is what an entry should look like for the parent to, or families and individuals in their portal to be able to click this review button on their end and approve it.
I just had a quick question. This is Grace.
Mm-hmm.
You see the bar on top here where it says from August 6th to the 13th. I usually change that to the date that I worked. Do I just leave it the way it is because that's the pay period?
No, so great question, Grace. So actually these dates are just so random. It's just a random Evro date, and I personally dislike it. I feel the front date and the to date should be within the pay period. So so for example, the new pay period started August 8th, which is a Saturday, and the pay period will end Friday the 21st. This is preferably the way you want to, and then you click refresh. You have to click refresh so that everything can tally up here. And this is preferably the way you always want to look up your sessions, because say that for a good real example is the last day of the pay period is the 21st. You want to make sure that before your families or individuals are approving your time, the 21st or the 22nd, you want to make sure that you enter the pay period, refresh it, take a look at all of your entries, make sure you have a start time, stop time, that all of your services are entered before they go in there and approve it. Because oftentimes another thing that happens is that if individuals and families are going in here daily reviewing your entries and they approve it, they'll have this button here that lets them approve it. It locks you out. So sometimes we'll have staff reach out and say, hey, you know what? Actually, I worked from 10 to 10:30, not 11:30, and I couldn't go back in and fix it. Well, that's because sometimes they go in and just approve it on the spot. So you want to make sure that you capture the entire pay period, click refresh, look at all of your entries as much as you can, and make sure that they are correct and legitimately and everything is filled out.
Jennifer, at one point you guys had provided us a pay period chart, just keeping track, because I'm working right now once a week. So sometimes I forget what pay period I'm in. Is that chart somewhere of the beginning and ending?
Yeah, I'm gonna forward that today to all of you.
Okay, great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll make sure to put it in. So I've been putting it in correctly right now. All right, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll forward those out today along with this recorded session today and PDFs, which the PDF gives you like pictures, step-by-steps how to do all this. So I'll recap and send all of that later today. But so for purposes of after the fact, when you're outside of the mobile app, any revisions, anything you need to complete, go to attendance roster, click that plus sign, and just enter your start time, stop time, save it, and then come back to enter your services. Now, in the event that you forgot to clock out, or you forgot to Yeah, so if you forget to clock out or you just forgot to enter services, but you had kind of already started that from the mobile app, what you're going to do is you're not going to create a new entry. This is just if you completely forgot to clock in, out, and enter services. If you just kind of midway forgot to punch out, or you clocked in and out but did not enter services, you're simply going to look for your session. So you're going to, like I was explaining to Grace, make sure you enter the pay period date. You're going to click refresh. And when you do, sessions should appear here. Even if they're incomplete, they should appear here. So in this case, you know, let's pretend that I forgot to clock out. I'm just going to have to hit start time to enter my stop time and then save it. And then once I save it, I should have the option of going back to entering goals. Or maybe I entered the goals, but I completely forgot to clock out. So when you're looking to revise either your stop time or enter goals, you simply have to go into the registered session, which should generate here, and you're just going to finish off whatever is red or missing. Okay. Let's see what else we have. So that's an in-depth view of the time cards from both the mobile app and a web portal.
Jen, just a few things. If you work on a team with more than one staff, some issues that we tend to hear about are, I'm having problems clocking in. It could be because the person before you didn't clock out. So double check with the team and the family, because the family can see the whole, and the individual, they can see everybody's time. And just try to do that first, and then also be proactive and make sure you communicate with the family. Hey, I've done all my time is entered. Please go ahead and review my time. Because you could see here, once they've reviewed it, you'll see their little blue check mark there. So this way you guys are working together to make sure everything is in place for us to be able to process the payroll. On a side note, we'll talk more about this at a future meeting. But the federal government is requiring something called electronic visit verification, and that's starting in January 1st. Unless there's some barrier to that happening, there's a lot of advocacy around it. It seems to be moving ahead. Evro, right now, we don't require you to use the GPS location, and we do offer some flexibility. If you forget, you can go into the web portal. But as of January 1, you will have to use the app. You will have to put in the location, and we'll share more about that, but just get used to using the app. For right now, you don't have to use GPS, but just get familiar with the app for those of you who have not done so.
Okay, so any questions so far? We're gonna lightly move into Paycom. And before Linda shares her screen on what the Paycom app looks like, just a few things to clarify on Paycom. Paycom is just simply took over for we are all in Paychex. And what Paychex is this is the place where our pay stubs are stored, our W-2s, where we can just view all that information. For purposes of us, and self-hired, ComHab, respite, it's not it doesn't change your process of clocking in, clocking out, the services you provide, the goals you have to enter. Paycom, think of Paycom as just that app that you're accessing to view your accrued time. If you need to change your statuses, single, married, number of dependents, if you need to change your address, you will no longer have to just email us and us to payroll HR. You can go in there and just update your profile. Direct deposit, you can simply go in there and upload your direct deposit info. So Paycom is just that site where that's going to capture your pay stubs and your pay time off and just anything related to your taxes, withholdings, and that kind of stuff. Nothing to do with your process of your self-hired ComHab, respite, clocking in, out, and services. Okay, and so as Linda said, we are working on getting everyone a CFS email account, and you'll get that information hopefully before the 22nd. But just know that that won't affect your work or your pay. It's just a matter of updating and reflecting all of that in the new Paycom system as we transition from Paychex to Paycom. You'll have the information whether you access it after the 22nd. Everyone will be set up with Paycom. And it's just that the prior step is that you're going to have a CFS email you're going to have to activate and log into to access the email to set up your credentials and your mobile app. So I'll let Linda share that. And before she does, just a reminder that the Paycom trainings are happening all this week. But eventually, if you missed it, there will be a pre-recorded session, and when we obtain that information, I'll forward it.
Linda, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Some of my aides tell me that they don't have the new IDs. Can you just follow up with the people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Tucker. Okay, so I first want to just apologize. So we rolled out Paycom. We started this prior to the pandemic, and we had signed contracts. We were looking forward to this rollout. Pandemic hit. We still have a contract, and we have a go-live date of August 22nd. We're not fully prepared. And as you can tell, for those of you who went to the Paycom trainings, we're including all of our organization staff as well as New Jersey, which in hindsight wasn't a great idea. So it's been very confusing. That being said, what you need to know, the most important piece is you're going to continue to use Evro for your time in, time out. As Jennifer said, Paycom is simply going to replace Paychex, and it will be a much better experience than Paychex has been for you and for us. So for right now, if you don't get to go to the trainings, it's okay. For right now, we are, even as of last night, I'm working on just trying to get everybody in our SDS program set up with a CFS email address that is required for the payroll entity for you to have a company email address. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, we will email you your CFS email address and your password. For those of you who have been with us a while, if it's typically first initial last name at cfsny.org, and the password is the last 4 digits of your social security number plus a 0, and if that doesn't work, try plus a 1. So but like I said, my plan is hopefully this weekend I will email each of you just to confirm that you have an email address. And when you log in, you should see an email from Paycom that will allow you to set up your account. Once you log into Paycom, I'm just going to share my screen. Again, if you haven't taken the training, it's okay because it's pretty self-explanatory, and I know I've heard from some of you who use Paycom at other agencies. You're going to log in and you're going to see, I'm sorry, let me back up. Go to your App Store, your Play Store, and download the Paycom app. That's first step. And you can also go to paycom.com on a browser, and you can log in there as an employee. And this is what you're going to see. Now, this is my screen, so I'm not going to go into this too much, but I wanted to show you what's important. So the Paycom will give you notifications. The first thing they're going to ask you to do is to confirm information. So they call things the checklist. And if you see the bottom checklist as employee verification, the first step is taking a look here, making sure your address is good, adding in a phone number, is your secondary email good, all that information. Because what we did was we took a data dump from Paychex and we plugged it in here. This will allow you to verify your direct deposit, your withholdings, and all that good stuff. So once you do get set up, like I said, I have to get you email. Paycom has to send an email to you. you have to click on that email to follow the process that they're outlining, and you'll get this checklist. And the checklist is going to walk you through how to verify the information that's in the system. Once you've done that, you're going to see a lot here. Again, you're not clocking in using Paycom at all. We're only using Evro. There will be an integration. So eventually, once we go live, you will see the time in here that will be imported from Evro. We're not going to use time off requests here just yet. And if you click on payroll, you'll see what these options. Eventually, you'll see pay stubs, pay rates, your tax, your earnings and deductions, and your direct deposit, which you can update, and your year-end tax forms. For those of you who are full-time that get any benefits from us, you'll be able to make changes here as well once we have that information loaded in. So, so I hope you hear what I'm saying to you. Don't worry. We're going to get the information out to you, and I apologize that it was rolled out in a quite a confusing way. So we're learning, but just keep doing what you're doing, and we will communicate with you as we get that information together. Oh, I wanted to just go back. I know we have sharing a lot, but I wanted to say one other thing about the Evro app. So if you remember when I signed in and I hit service delivery, when I went to start the session, it gave me an option, which of course now it didn't do, but it gave me an option for telehealth. Let me see if it, no, it's not working now. I think we're using Casey too much here. Okay, let me try to stop. I wanted to just point out to you that there is an option for telehealth to be done directly in the system. So when you click on service delivery and it said the first thing it prompts you to do, again, it's not showing because I messed up here. Let me see. Oh, I just saw it again. Hold on. So you see where it said mode of support face-to-face. If I drop that down and I clicked telehealth, it'll allow you to do a telehealth session right from the Evro app. So you don't have to use Zoom or some other system. You could use it right in the Evro app. It will start the session for you, and it will allow you to put the individual's cell phone number or email address, and it will send them an invitation just like you get through Zoom. So the individual would get that invitation, they'll join the session with a code that they'll get, and you can have that telehealth session right in Evro. So I thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to point that out. You will have to download the Evro Telehealth app for this to work, which is again at evro.com. Under our apps, there's a Evro Telehealth.
I'm sorry, this is Catherine. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What if, like, when I do punch in through the app and I'm not physically face to face, but I do through Zoom? I know it doesn't give you the option, like on the application Zoom. I know it does give you an option through the portal. Do I still put telehealth?
Yes.
Or?
Yes, you still choose telehealth.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so for those of you who are using some other platform, that's fine. You're just going to still indicate telehealth, and it's going to ask you to answer some questions about the session, like was it successful? What platform did you use? But if you want to consider, maybe you weren't aware, if you want to consider playing around with the use of the Evro app, you can feel free to try that as well.
I have a quick question as well. So in looking at the Evro portal, I was seeing that all of my training sessions have been approved as paid, and I haven't gotten them in any of my accounts. So I was wondering if that's what you were talking about, like me needing to go into Paycom or something like that.
No, we're not. Paycom is not live yet.
Okay.
Remember, the current pay period that we are in is started August 8th and ends August 22nd. You're not going to see in Evro anything about paid. The only thing you're going to see in Evro are the sessions itself. We export a file into paid checks right now, and paid checks will show you your stubs. So if you have an issue where you think you're not getting paid for something, reach out to Jennifer or I, and we'll look into that for you.
So what does the payment status column mean on the Evro portal?
Payment status column.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, do you still have that portal up?
Yeah, let me share.
Yeah.
About this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So see how for me it's pending. Personally for me, and we can look into it further, I've seen this. To me, it just meant that it's pending parental review, right? Or family individual review, as it's not been approved yet. And I'm curious if I approved it, what it would turn into, but
I mean, I know we
turns into a little dollar sign with a circle.
because what we do right now is we put a paid file back. So we process a report to payroll, then they give us a report back, and we reconcile it back into the system. So I'm wondering if previous pay periods, if you see that dollar sign. Yeah, I apologize. We don't usually see your end of it. We just see Casey. But yeah, so if you see a prior pay period with the dollar signs, it's probably because we uploaded that paid file. And actually, I just did it for the last pay period last night, so it should be good for last week. Okay.
Right. And what the paid file means for us, it means that it simply means we extracted this information and transferred it over to Paycheck. Let's say, which in a couple of weeks it'll be Paycom. So on our end, it just means that we processed your pay. But I think your question is, did this mean that I should have had, a paycheck in my account? No. So what it means is that it's been processed on our end, and that should you not be seeing a direct deposit in your account that Friday or via mail, which would probably be after, and I'll touch on that, contact me and let me know.
Thank you.
While we're on the portal, I had one more question about that. I just started putting in mileage, and I'm a little confused with that part of the portal. I did my best to try to figure it out, but can we review that?
Transportation? Okay. Let me just, I think Jen had a question. Is for the upcoming paycheck, it looks like they are paid, but the check there could be tomorrow. Yeah. So I'll answer Grace's question, but anyone that's on direct deposit, there should be no delay. If payday is tomorrow, Friday, the money should be in your account payday Friday. The issue now is that, and this is pandemic related, is that, if checks are mailed by Thursday, first of all, they may or may not arrive to you by that Friday because, mail is mail. But what we're finding now is that not only are they not getting to you by that Friday, or rule of thumb, if you don't have a paper paycheck by Tuesday, you should be contacting me so I can follow up with payroll. But rule of thumb is if you're not getting it by Tuesday, reach out to me. But it is very common that checks are not getting to you within a few days of when they are mailed. They're getting lost, or oftentimes I find they're not getting lost. They're just arriving to you really late. And then what's happening is by the time they arrive to you, we've put a stop check on that and issued a new check. And now you are incurring fees because you're depositing stopped check. So we just strongly encourage you to sign up for direct deposit for that reason. And it's relatively simple. You just need to, maybe snap a picture or scan a copy of a signed void check or bank letter and just email it to A. Williams at CFSNY, and I'll forward that.
Or you could wait for the Paycom rollout, and that could be one of the things you do when you set up Paycom, is to set up direct deposit. So.
Right. So if you decided before the 22nd today, I want to sign up right now, you can do that, or from the 22nd onward, or at least by September 1st, when you're fully into Paycom, you can do that from the app. That's right. But again, but we strongly encourage it because it's really outside of our hands that the paper checks are not arriving to you when they should. Okay. Then everyone is still able to see my screen, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Let me share the transportation for. Okay, so trying to understand what your question was, Grace. So are you asking about entering transportation requests?
Yes. How do you, because I'll give you an example. So for example, I pick up my individual and we don't only go from one place to another. We may go to multiple places. So when it asks for a pickup address and then a, you know, like where did you go and so on and so forth, it's multiple. So I don't know. I was a little confused by the whole thing.
Okay.
About how to
So when
enter
you're
it, basically.
Sure. So if you're on the web portal and you're always going to click a plus sign when you're entering something new, you know, be it miles or amount. If you know you're utilizing a vehicle, you know, make sure to capture the correct amount, the amount of miles. If you're using amount, note that it's going to ask you for a receipt. So anything that is amount, you'll have to attach, you know, a picture of, be it, I don't know, a Metro card or Uber receipt of, you know, whatever amount you're requesting. So if you're going to multiple locations, the best way to capture it, I would say, you know, make sure that your name populates here. If it doesn't, you'll have to reach out to me because it means that I have to link you to your individual's portal for reimbursement, and make sure you're selecting the correct program, okay? If it's a round trip, make sure you indicate that also, to and from. You know, just kind of, and a way to remember this is if you fill nothing in and you click save, click OK, it's going to outline the boxes that you have to fill out. Okay, so sometimes you don't have to fill all of this stuff out. Just make sure you're filling out those red outlined boxes. So, you know, say I traveled 25 miles with test girl Casey from Casey's home, or you can enter the address. And you can, for goes to, you could say various locations. And what you're going to do is, in the purpose of the visit is where you're going to capture all of that. So you're going to say traveled, you know, you could say left, or, you know, picked up Casey, went to bank, did groceries and laundry. And, you know, those are 3 stops there, total of 25 miles between all 3 locations. So from NYC to Brooklyn and back, you know. So just make sure that in the purpose of the visit, you are capturing the detail of those various locations. Not that you have to provide full addresses, but you should be able to say Chase Bank and mid-Manhattan, or, you know, laundry in Brooklyn, 5th Avenue, whatever, you know, just provide that detail. Because sometimes in purpose of visit, we'll see something like took the ferry a few times, and it's not, I don't understand, we don't understand how it's goal related. Whereas if you are saying these are the things you're working on with Casey, and we know that ties back to money management goal, then this is acceptable, okay? Again, if you select amount, make sure you attach your receipt, and then you should, once you click save, that's kind of how you do it.
Jen, also I wanted to add in, this is an option on the app as well. On the app, you can actually start the odometer and end the odometer, you know, in real time. So if you look under that, like hamburger menu at the top left corner, you draw that down. And we could do, maybe we'll do another recorded session for staff on transportation, but just remember to hear Jennifer's point that, you know, we didn't spend a lot of time going through this because not all staff get reimbursed. So you have to really talk to the family about reimbursing you for transportation, and if that's service related, and again, it can't be to and from home, can't be your commute to and from home. Has to be when you're with the individual doing service related activities, and has to be really approved by the team. So don't just start going ahead and the family does have to approve this. So make sure that you get permission before you go ahead with doing the transportation.
The parent that I work with, she said to put in for it, but I don't know if that's something she should check and make sure it's on her in the budget for the for the individual. But when I put in the information, it didn't reject it. So does that mean that there is budgeted money for that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, take a
You're
look
not-
at what you could take a look at how I inputted it and see if anything is wrong, and then just email me, let me know.
Yes. So Grace, I typically review and approve your stuff. I would say the one step that's missing is mom just needs to go in and approve your entry. That's all.
Now that I have the pay period list, I'll remind her the week of the second, of the second week and say, hey, can you go approve my stuff? Just as a reminder.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. So, so I just a couple last notes. So refresher trainings, we don't have, for those that have been with CFS, typically this is the time of year where we'll provide you this link and then you'll view all these videos and do the quiz, and you are, paid in direct time for that. This time around, we're working on a different way for you to kind of do a read on your own training. So it'll probably be like a PDF and you'll attest that you read it. So that's all we have for now. Just keep an eye out for it. It will probably email you on that. And then, so that's just wanted to inform everyone. Overtime, I wanted to talk a little bit about this. This is not applicable to everyone, but overtime, and let me share this. Okay. Overtime is considered more than 40 hours in one work week. So I know that we work with bi-weekly, pay periods. So, say that a pay period is the 1st to the 14th, in 2 weeks. Overtime, we're looking at it weekly. So it's from that first week, the 1st to the 7th, you worked 42 hours. You did 2 hours of overtime. Same thing for the following week. Anything that's over 40 hours in one work week is considered overtime. Now that's, things happen, this message is more for those that we have to consistently reach out to about overtime, and there's no allotted hours for you to do the overtime. We reach out to you individually to please keep an eye on this. We can't sustain overtime. It's not something we do outside of emergencies, or we have prior from the family that there's a need for this or something happens. That's just life, and we want to be more than understanding and flexible with that. So again, this message is just really for anyone that is oftentimes doing more than the 40 hours in one work week that are not supposed to, or sometimes it's just sometimes I find that if you're not using the mobile app or you're forgetting to clock out, or not going into the web portal and entering your stop times correctly, it'll easily bring you to overtime. And the message here is we can't sustain overtime. Please stay within your assigned work hours. So, outside of whether you're part-time, full-time, communicate with your families. These are pre-approved services that'll say that you were hired to work X amount of hours a week, and this is your hourly wage. And these are your PTO hours for the year. So these things are kind of preset for you, actually. So they're already on file if you're unsure as to how much hours you're supposed to be doing weekly and pay time off. Let us know. We'll let you know what those accruals are. Again, you'll see them in Paycom eventually, but you should know what your scheduled weekly hours are and discuss that with your family.
And can I just add a point to that? I did put it in the chat. There was a question about paid time off. So when you get hired, so let's say that you're hired to work with somebody for 20 hours a week. depending upon when you started, I think over the past year and a half, I've been sending a welcome email, and the welcome email indicates this is what your scheduled hours are. So if you're hired for 20 hours a week, but then let's say 6 months in, the family says, you know, I really want you to do 25 hours a week. Well, we only have you set up to get 20 hours a year of PTO. So if you're going to be changing the amount of hours that you will regularly be doing, you need to have the family officially let us know that, so that we can go ahead and update our system to reflect your change of status. Especially important if you are going from part-time to full-time. Full-time is anything more than 30 hours. Again, regularly scheduled. When it's an occasional thing to cover for somebody else, that's okay. But if it's a regularly scheduled change, it's going to require a change of status. For employees that work between 20 and 29 hours regularly throughout the course of the year, you're probably going to be entitled to a pension contribution because it's 1,000 hours a year worked. So after 1 year of employment. So again, we'd want to change that status to make sure if you were hired to work 15 hours, but now you're doing 25 regularly, send us an email, send the family an email, they'll forward to us so that we can go in and change your status. Because again, that reflects your PTO. Anybody that's not full-time, you get 1 week of your scheduled hours. So if you are scheduled to work every Saturday for 10 hours, you get 10 hours a year. So one Saturday a year, you can take off and use those 10 hours. I did put the PTO request form in the chat. So go ahead and download that, as well as the pay periods.
And just make sure the PTO requests are, number one, in before the end of the pay period, that they're reviewed and signed by the individuals or families you support. Yeah, so just make sure those forms are completed and signed off, and that you scan and email them to me. We are still remote. So the PTO form remains in place, okay? So, okay, Linda shared it, but I'll email all that stuff later. I think, and as far as I'll wrap up with the COVID precautions, and I will be on leave from the end of September through end of December. So if you have any, payroll related questions or any issues with time, I couldn't clock in. I know sometimes you guys will email me or text message me. If you don't hear from me, I would say end of September as quickly. Just, email Linda or say Simon. And remember it's best for you to send us a screenshot of what difficulty you're having, because that's the only way, our portals look completely different. If you screenshot us what the issue is, chances are more than likely we're able to troubleshoot it. It's often the same things. Someone's overlapping with your time or things like that. If we can't, we open up an Evro ticket, which they resolve it on their end or guide us as to what we need to do. So just make sure that any, service entry, clock in, clock out related issues that you're contacting myself, Linda, and Faye at this point, CC us all, in the event by end of September, you're not hearing back from me, okay? So we wanna make sure these things are resolved before the end of the pay period. So I think the biggest thing I wanna emphasize is please enter your time contemporaneously. If you do have to use the web portal to do any entries or revisions, do it within the same day or before every Friday, when we advise families to go in and approve your time. And we do this because we want to make sure you get paid when you're supposed to and what you're supposed to. Okay. And, finally, COVID precautions, still very much a different world out there. So just, we tend to update our website with the CDC guidelines, but, just remember, self-monitor. Any signs of COVID, feeling sick, please stay home. You should be checking your temperature prior to reporting to your shift. And even after, fever is considered 100.4. notify us and your families, which are your direct supervisors, immediately if you can't report to your assigned shift. Or use telehealth, which is, you know, good and standing option if you can, to support your individual. And remember, if it is the case that you are having a fever or experiencing any of these symptoms, you shouldn't return to work for at least 3 days of not requiring any medication and no signs of fevers, obviously any respiratory symptoms. So, you know, I know everyone is familiar with these precautions, but, you know, just stay up to date with it. You know, there's still services that you can do as Tom had, whereas before you had to do it side by side with the individual. Some of these things you can do for them now, such as food shopping, laundry, and things that can help minimize the exposure of our individuals or the both of you having to do all these tasks together. So some of these things, you know, can be done now. So, you know, and I'm just wishing everyone keeps safe, and thank you, you know, for all you do and all of the support you provide for your individuals and families. So, you know, everyone keep staying safe and healthy.
Yeah, I wanted to just also ditto to that, to Jennifer, that you know, it's good that we often don't get to see you, and it's good that we were able to see some of you. I know we went over the hour, but hopefully we were able to answer some of the questions. In addition, on our website, we do have a coronavirus updates page. We also have mental health resources. We are all experiencing trauma, and the individuals we support, ourselves, our families, it's an unprecedented time, and so we encourage you to make sure you're checking in on yourself. As caregivers, you know, we're very susceptible to you know, the traumas that we're going through are compounded because of the work we do. So there's resources on mental health supports that you could take advantage of. And if there's anything that we can do to help in any way, just continue to reach out and give us feedback. And I guess if it's 12:19, so, you know, we can stay on if there's any other questions. But if not, you know, we wish you all the best, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so